Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Wednesday, April 11th, 2018. Today I'm going to recap last night's NBA action as well as look ahead to tonight's NBA action, which is the final day of the regular season. I'll pick the ESPN doubleheader, and I'll pick the play-in game between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves, which is sadly not nationally televised tonight. I will go over last night's Major League Baseball action, look ahead to today's action as well. And I'll go over tonight's NHL Stanley Cup playoff slate of games, and I'll pick the 3-game ones that are being played tonight. I'll do my 7th NFL mock draft, and I will do my NFL trade value player rankings. NBA last night, the Charlotte Hornets defeated the Indiana Pacers 119-93. Indiana's locked in the 3 seed, so they didn't have to win that game. They're locked into the 5 seed, my bad. Charlotte improves to 36-46, finishes the year 36-46. Indiana finishes up at 48-34. Frank Kaminsky put up 24 in the win. Glenn Robinson put up 13 in defeat. The 76ers, winners of 15 straight games now, defeated the Hawks 121-113 as they improve to 51-30. Atlanta drops to 24-58. JJ Redick put up 28 in the win. Taurean Prince put up 27 in defeat. The Wizards defeated the Celtics 113-101. I had the Wizards on the podcast yesterday because that was a TNT game, and I got it correct. The Wizards improved to 43-38 and are now tied with the Miami Heat for 7th in the Eastern Conference. Boston drops to 54-27. Jaylen Brown was really good, put up 27 in defeat. John Wall put up 29 in the win. The Phoenix Suns defeated the Dallas Mavericks in the battle of two tankers, 124-97. Phoenix already has the worst record. They finished the season 21-61. Dallas finishes the season 24-58. Alec Peters put up 36 in the win. Jonathan Motley put up 21 in defeat. The Jazz defeated the Warriors 119-79. Wow. The Warriors, they weren't playing for anything, but they did play Durant and Thompson and Green in the game. And they finished the season 58-24. Utah improves to 48-33. Klay Thompson put up 23 in defeat. Donovan Mitchell put up 22 in the win. The Rockets defeated the Lakers 105-99. I had the Lakers on the podcast. I was incorrect. Houston improves to 65-16. The Lakers dropped to 34-47. Chris Paul put up 22 in the win. Josh Hart put up 20 in defeat. Tonight's action, you have the Knicks at the Cavaliers. You have the Nets at the Celtics. The Raptors at the Heat. If the Heat win, and the Wizards, doesn't matter what the Wizards do. I think if the Heat win, the Bucks lose. I think the Heat could be the 6th spot. I don't really know the scenarios by heart for that. I'll look it up later on in the podcast. Wizards at the Magic. The Wizards have to win this game if they want to avoid the Raptors in the first round. The Bucks at the Sixers. Sixers going for 16 straight wins. The Bucks have the 6th seed on the line. You have the Pistons at the Bulls, the Nuggets at the Timberwolves, the battle for the final playoff spot in the Western Conference. Too bad this isn't a nationally televised game, so this won't count towards Maddie's picks when I'm picking the game anyway, similar to the NHL, where the Western Conference's final spot was on the line. I'm going to do the same thing here. Not towards Maddie's picks. The Timberwolves are the better team, led by Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns. The Nuggets are a good team in their own right, led by Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Tom Thibodeau has coached in big games before. This is probably the biggest game in Mike Malone's head coaching career. If the Nuggets lose this game, I think there's a chance that Malone could lose his job. So that's something to keep an eye on. So give me the Timberwolves at home to clinch the final playoff spot in the Western Conference. You have the Spurs at the Pelicans. The winner of this game will be a higher seed, obviously. Grizzlies at the Thunder. The Thunder already clinched, but they still have seeding. And Lakers-Clippers, that's a meaningless game between the two LA teams. The Jazz at the Trailblazers for the 3 seed. It should be fun. And then you have the Rockets and the Kings. The Rockets going for 66 wins on the season. The clinching scenarios, or the playoff scenarios, I want to pull up real quick. Let's start at the East. Toronto and Boston are locked in the 1 and 2 respectively. Philadelphia, if they win their final game against Milwaukee, they finish 3rd. Cleveland, they own the tiebreaker against the 76ers because they won their division. The final game is against the New York Knicks. The Cavaliers need a win and a Sixers loss to jump to 3. Indiana's locked into the 5 seed, as I mentioned. Milwaukee loses the tiebreaker to the Heat. They split the series with the Wizards. Final game is against Philadelphia. As I mentioned, I have the Sixers winning that game because it's an ESPN game. And my other pick is the Portland Trail Blazers. Miami's your 7 right now. Their last game is against Toronto, who isn't playing for anything really. And Washington's last game is against Orlando. If Washington wins, if everybody wins, everybody remains in the same spot. If Milwaukee loses and Miami and Washington both win, Milwaukee drops to 8. Miami moves up to 6, and Washington moves up to 7. If Washington wins and Miami and Milwaukee lose, Miami stays at 7, Milwaukee drops to 8, and Washington moves up to 6. If Milwaukee wins, they stay at 6. Is there a scenario where Milwaukee can drop to 7? Yes, there is. If they lose, Miami wins, and Washington loses. Then, if that's the case, Miami would be 6, Milwaukee would be 7, and Washington would be 8. West. Houston and Golden State are locked into 1 and 2 respectively. Portland and Utah are playing for the 3 seed tonight. If Utah wins their final game against Portland, they finish in 3rd. And if Portland wins tonight, they finish 3rd. New Orleans and San Antonio are head-to-head tonight. And the winner of this game, I believe, is the 5 seed. But I'm not 100% sure about that. And then Oklahoma City plays Memphis. All right. If they win, Oklahoma City wins, San Antonio loses to New Orleans, then New Orleans would be 5, San Antonio would be 6, and Oklahoma City would be 7. And there's a chance that the Timberwolves could move up too. So that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. And both teams have tiebreakers over Oklahoma City, who could conceivably drop to 8. So that's in play as well. So I'm very fascinated to see how this plays out. Major League Baseball, quickly. A ton of interesting results. 2 of the hottest teams in the league continue to win. And let's get going with this. The Rays fade the White Sox 6-5 to improve to 3-8. Chicago drops to 3-7. Blake Snell with the win. Carson Fulmer with the loss. Alex Colon with the save. Top of the 3rd inning, 2-run single Joey Wendell, 2-0 Rays. Top of the 4th, sacrifice fly Edini Hecafaria, 3-0 Rays. Top of the 5th, RBI single Wilson Ramos, 4-0 Rays. Bottom of the 5th, Adam Engel RBI ground out, get the White Sox on the board. Top of the 6th, home run Carlos Gomez, 5-1 Rays. Top of the 9th, RBI single Daniel Robertson, 6-1 Rays. Bottom of the 9th, White Sox make it a little bit interesting. Yolmer Sanchez, sacrifice fly, 6-2. And the bottom of the 9th, a 3-run home run by Jose Abreu to get the White Sox within 1. But the rally falls short. Blake Snell, 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 5 walks, and 10 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 3.6 ERA. Carson Fulmer, 4 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 6 walks, and 4 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 5.59 ERA. The Pirates spoiled the Cubs' home opener by defeating them 8-5 as they improved to 8-2. The Cubs dropped to 5-5. Ivan Nova with the win. Tyler Chatwood with the loss. Felipe Vasquez with the save. Felipe Vasquez is his name now. He changed his name from Felipe Rivero to Felipe Vasquez. Bottom of the 1st, the Cubs get on the board first with an RBI single by Kyle Schwarber to make it 1-0 Cubs. Top of the 2nd, RBI single Jordy Mercer, 1-1. Bottom of the 2nd, Javier Baez home run, 2-1 Cubs. Top of the 3rd, RBI double Josh Bell to make it a 2-2 game. Also in the top of the 3rd, 2-run double Corey Dickerson, 4-2 Buccos. Top of the fourth, Sterling Marte, home run, 5-2 Buccos. Top of the seventh, Francisco Cervelli puts the game away. Well, we think so. With a 3-run home run to make it 8-2 Buccos. Bottom of the seventh, Javier Baez, his second homer of the day, 8-3. In the bottom of the eighth, the Cubs make it a little bit interesting on a 2-run single by Jason Hayward to make it 8-5. Ivan Nova pitched pretty well. 7 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, and 6 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 5.19 ERA. Tyler Chatwood's a little mediocre. 5 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 4.91 ERA. The Red Sox absolutely destroyed the Yankees last night, 14-1, to win their 9th in a row, improve to 9-1. New York drops to 5-6. Chris Sale to win, Luis Severino at the loss. It was all Red Sox from the get-go. Bottom of the first, RBI single, Hanley Ramirez, 1-0 Sox. Bottom of the second, 2-run triple by Andrew Benintendi, 3-0 Sox. Bottom of the second, RBI single, Hanley Ramirez, 4-0 Sox. Bottom of the fourth, sacrifice fly, Hanley Ramirez, 5-0 Sox. Yankees get their lone run in the top of the fifth inning on a log ball by Aaron Judge off of Chris Sale to get the Yankees on the board to make it 5-1. Bottom of the sixth is when the Red Sox blow it open. A 9-run inning. Listen to this. It's all in the bottom of the sixth. J.D. Martinez, 2-run double, 7-1 Sox. Top of the sixth, sacrifice fly, Rafael Devers, 8-1 Sox. Christian Vasquez safe at first base on an error by Miguel Andujar as Martinez scores, 9-1 Sox. Top of the still in the bottom of the sixth. Bases loaded walk, Brock Holt, 10-1 Sox. And the dagger, a grand slam by Mookie Betts, 14-1 Sox. That's your final. Very bad game by Luis Severino. 5 innings, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, 3.5 ERA he leads the game with. Tommy Kahnle's been very disappointing out of the bullpen for the Yankees, and which as the whole unit this year has been disappointing. The big reason, in my opinion, why they're 5-6, other than Giancarlo Stanton struggling. Chris Sale, 6 innings, 8 hits, 1 earned run, and 8 strikeouts, leaves the game to 1.06 ERA. He looks like the favorite for the Cy Young right now, along with Corey Kluber. The Indians defeat the Tigers 2-1 as they improve to 6-5. Detroit drops to 4-6. Andrew Miller with the win. Alex Wilson with the loss. Cody Allen with the save. Bottom of the first, home run, Jose Ramirez, 1-0 Tribe. Top of the seventh, RBI double by Jeimer Candelario to make it a 1-1 game. In the bottom of the eighth, the game-winning home run, Roberto Perez, 2-1 Tribe. Josh Tomlin pitched pretty well. Nice bounce-back start for him. 5 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 9 ERA. Matthew Boyd pitched really well for Detroit. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 1.38 ERA. The Blue Jays feed the Orioles 2-1 as they improve to 8-4. Baltimore drops to 4-8. The big story of this game, Aaron Sanchez had a no-hitter going into the 8th inning, and then Tim Beckham led off the bottom of the 8th with a sharp grounder through the legs of Josh Donaldson for up base hit. Sanchez gets the win. Darren O'Day with the loss. Roberto Osuna with the save. There was no scoring in this game until the top of the 8th inning as Yangervis Solarte hit an RBI single to make it 1-0 Jays. Bottom of the 8th, after Beckham broke up the no-hitter, RBI double, Chance Sisco to make it a 1-1 game. Top of the 9th, the game-winning home run, Curtis Granderson, 2-1 was your final. I mentioned Sanchez. He went 8 innings, gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run, 5 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 3.66 ERA. Andrew Kashner, 7 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 2.5 ERA. 2 good starts in a row for Andrew Kashner. Maybe he's a trade asset for the Orioles when the summer rolls around. The Nationals feed the Braves 4-1 as they improve to 6-5. Atlanta drops to 6-5. Steven Strasburg with the win. Mike Fulton-Units with the loss. Ryan Matson with the save. Bottom of the first, 2-run triple. Ryan Zimmerman, 2-0 Nats. Bottom of the fourth, RBI single, Brian Goodwin, 3-0 Nats. Bottom of the sixth, Steven Strasburg with the sacrifice fly, 4-0 Nats. Top of the ninth, RBI double, Dansby Swanson, 4-1 final. Steven Strasburg, 8 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.21 ERA. Nice bounce back start for him. Mike Felty Units, 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.93 ERA. The Phillies defeated the Reds 6-1 as they get the 500 at 5-5. Cincinnati drops to 2-8. Aaron Nola with the win. Jared Hughes with the loss. Top of the fifth, the Reds get on the board first with an RBI single by Jesse Winker. Bottom of the sixth, RBI double of Dubal Herrera, 1-1. Bottom of the seventh, J.P. Crawford, RBI single, 2-1 Phils. Bottom of the eighth, the dagger of this game, grand slam, Scott Kingery, 6-1 Phils. Aaron Nola, 8 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 1.96 ERA. Homer Bailey, not bad either, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 3.24 ERA. This is the best I've seen Homer Bailey look in a very long time. The Mets defeated the Marlins 8-6. Nice comeback win for the Mets as they stay hot, win their 7th in a row. They're 9-1 now. Miami drops to 3-8. Hansel Robles with the win. Brad Ziegler with the loss. Traces Familia with the save. Top of the first, the Mets got it going. RBI double, Wilmer Flores, 1-0 Mets. Top of the fourth, solo shot by Asdrubal Cabrera, 2-0 Mets. Top of the fifth, Michael Conforto, RBI single, 3-0 Mets. Bottom of the fifth, RBI single, Miguel Rojas, 3-1 Marlins. Also in the bottom of the fifth, Starlin Castro, sacrifice fly, 3-2. Go-ahead home run by Justin Bour to make it 4-3 Marlins. Top of the sixth, sacrifice fly Juan Lagares to make it a 4-4 game. Go-ahead home run, again, Justin Bour, 6-4 Marlins. In the bottom of the seventh, top of the eighth, the Mets get within 1 on a home run by Wilmer Flores to make it a 6-5 game. The Mets tie it up on a home run by Asdrubal Cabrera to make it 6-6. Top of the ninth, the go-ahead 2-run double by Yoenis Cespedes to make it 8-6. Jacob deGrom, 6 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 3.06 ERA. Caleb Smith, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk, and 7 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 4.72 ERA. The Angels absolutely destroyed the Rangers 11-1 to improve to 9-3. Texas drops to 4-9. Tyler Skaggs with the win. Martin Perez with the loss. Top of the first, wild pitch by Martin Perez scores in just enough to make it 1-0 Angels. Also in the top of the first, Jeffrey Marte, RBI single, 2-0 Angels. RBI single, Chris Young, 3-0 Angels. Top of the second, Mike Trout, home run, 4-0 Angels. Bottom of the second, Drew Robinson, RBI double to get the Rangers on the board. Top of the third, Andrelton Simmons, home run, 5-1 Angels. Also in the top of the third, RBI single, Luis Valbuena, 6-1 Angels. Top of the fourth, RBI single, Albert Pujols, 7-1 Angels. RBI single by Jeffrey Marte, 8-1 Angels. Also in the top of the fourth, RBI single, Martin Maldonado, 9-1 Angels. Top of the sixth, Martin Maldonado, RBI single, 10-1 Angels. Top of the seventh, Justin Upton, sacrifice fly, 11-1 Angels. That was your final. Tyler Skaggs was really good. 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts. Martin Perez only went 3 innings, gave up 9 hits, 8 earned runs, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Leaves the game with an ugly 11.88 ERA. The Twins defeated the Astros 4-1. A nice win for the Twins as they improved to 5-4. Houston drops to 9-3. Jake Odorizzi with the win. Dallas Keuchel with the loss. Fernando Rodney with the save. Bottom of the first, Eduardo Escobar, sacrifice fly, 1-0 Twins. RBI double by Robbie Grossman, 2-0 Twins. Top of the second, the Astros get their lone run and an RBI single by Jake Marisnick to get on the board. Bottom of the second, bases loaded walk by Joe Mauer, 3-1 Twins. Bottom of the eighth, RBI single, Joe Mauer, 4-1 Twins. Jake Odorizzi pitched really well. 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 2.2 ERA. Not so good for Dallas Keuchel. 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts. Leaves the game with a 4.2 ERA. The Mariners defeated the Royals 8-3. Nice bounce-back win for the Mariners as they improved to 5-4. Kansas City drops to 3-6. Felix Hernandez with the win. Eric Skoglund with the loss. Top of the first, the Mariners got it going on an RBI single by Mitch Haniger, 1-0 Mariners. Top of the second, 2-run triple, Gene Segura, 3-0 Mariners. Also in the top of the second, RBI double, Robinson Cano, 4-0 Mariners. Bottom of the fourth, the Royals get on the board to get within 2 on a 2-run shot by Mike Moustakas to make it a 4-2 game. Top, Glomeo Heredia homers to make it a 5-2 game. Top of the sixth, sacrifice fly Mitch Haniger, 6-2 Mariners. Top of the sixth, our 2-run double by Kyle Seager to make it 8-2. And the final run of this game is in the bottom of the sixth. RBI single Mike Moustakas to make it an 8-3 game. Felix Hernandez, nice bounce back start. 5-2 third innings. 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, leaves the game to 6.6 ERA. Eric Skoglund, 4-2 third innings, 6 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout, leaves the game with a 9.64 ERA. Crazy game in St. Louis as the Cardinals defeat the Brewers 5-3 in 11 innings as they improve to 5-6. Milwaukee drops to 6-6. Dominic Leone with the win, J.J. Hoover with the loss. Milwaukee got it going first in the top of the first. Home run Eric Thames, 1-0 Brewers. Bottom of the sixth, bases loaded walk by Yaro Munoz to tie it up at 1 apiece. Top of the ninth, Danny Santana, RBI single, 2-1 Brewers. Bottom of the ninth, a wild pitch by Jacob Barnes scores in Tommy Pham to make it a 2-2 game. Top of the seventh, RBI single, Orlando Arcia, 3-2 Brewers. Bottom of the 10th, Greg Garcia with the game-tying RBI single to make it 3-3. And in the bottom of the 11th, walk-off home run, Matt Carpenter for the 3-5 win. Carlos Martinez, 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.41 ERA. Brent Suter, 5 in the third innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, a walk, and 2 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 4.7 ERA. The Padres defeated the Rockies 5-2 to improve to 4-8. Colorado drops to 5-7. Joey Lucchesi with the win. Brian Shaw with the loss. Brad Hand with the save. Rockies scored first in the bottom of the first on a 2-run home run by Trevor Story to make it 2-0. Top of the third, the Padres get on the board on an RBI double by Jose Peralta to make it a 2-1 game. Top of the fifth, Austin Hedges ties it up at 2 apiece with the homer. In the top of the seventh, the go-ahead home run, Hunter Renfroe to make it a 5-2 game. Joey Lucchesi, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 1.72 ERA. Tyler Anderson, 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 5.65 ERA. The Dodgers defeated the Athletics 4-0 as they improved to 4-6. Oakland drops to 4-8. Heijin Ryu with the win, Sean Manaea with the loss, Kenley Jansen with the save. Bottom of the first, the Dodgers got it going. Home run, Chris Taylor, 1-0 Dodgers. Right after him, Corey Seager homers to right. 2-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the sixth, Matt Kemp homers, 3-0 Dodgers. Also in the bottom of the sixth, RBI double, Logan Forsythe, 4-0 Dodgers. Heijin Ryu was great. 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 2.79 ERA. Sean Manaea, 5 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts, leaves the game with a 1.74 ERA. The Giants defeated the Diamondbacks 5-4. That was a nice win for San Francisco as they get the 505. Arizona drops to 8-3. Hunter Strickland with the win. Jorge De La Rosa with the loss. Diamondbacks got it going first in the top of the first. 2-run double, A.J. Pollock, 2-0 Diamondbacks. Bottom of the sixth, here come the Giants. Bases loaded, walk Andrew McCutchen to get him on the board. Sacrifice fly, Buster Posey to tie it up at 2 apiece. Sacrifice fly, Hunter Pence to give the Giants the lead. Top of the seventh, Ketel Marte, RBI double to tie it up at 3 apiece. Bottom of the eighth, a wild sequence here. Evan Longoria strikes out. Andrew McCutchen and Buster Posey pull off a double steal. And there is an error on the throwing error by Alex Avila as they were trying to tag out Posey. as McCutchen scored on that error to give the Giants a 4-3 lead. Top of the ninth, a big clutch home run by Paul Goldschmidt to tie it up at 4 apiece. And then the bottom of the ninth, game-winning RBI single, Andrew McCutchen with the bases loaded to give the Giants a 5-4 win. Tyler Bede's debut, 4 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts, leaves the game to 4.5 ERA. Patrick Corbin, 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts, leaves the game to 2.45 ERA. Today's slate, we have a couple games underway already. Braves Nationals is underway. In the top of the second, you have Brandon McCarthy against AJ Cole. Astros Twins underway from the Twin Cities. You have Kyle Gibson against Lance McCullers Jr. Also underway, Brewers Cardinals from Busch Stadium with Junior Guerrera and Adam Wainwright. In a little while, you have Rays White Sox, Yanni Chirinos and James Shields. Padres Rockies. You have Luis Perdomo and German Marquez. Diamondbacks Giants. Robbie Ray and Andrew Suarez. You have Tigers Indians. Jordan Zimmerman and Carlos Carrasco. Blue Jays Orioles. Blue Jays going for the sweep. Marco Estrada and Kevin Gossman. You have the Reds and the Phillies. Luis Castillo and Nick Pivetta. You have the Mets and the Marlins. Zach Wheeler against Jarlene Garcia. Yankees Red Sox. Yankees looking to bounce back from the disastrous loss from yesterday. Masahiro Tanaka against David Price. Let's see if Price pitches a third straight great outing, or does he have a little bit of a letdown after the first 2 starts. This is a big game for the Yankees. I know it's early. It is also big for Boston to continue to prove that they are among the league's elite teams. And that game will be aired on MLB Network. You have the Angels and the Rangers with Jamie Barria and Matt Moore. Matt Moore's been terrible this season. I expect the Angels to sweep the Rangers tonight. You have the Pirates and the Cubs from Wrigley Field. Stephen Baralt and John Lester. Let's see which Lester shows up. Is it the Lester that pitched poorly in Miami, or is it the Lester that pitched tremendous against the Brewers? Time will tell. And last but not least, the Athletics at the Dodgers. Dodgers going for the 2-game sweep. Alex Wood against Daniel Mengden. NHL tonight, 3 big playoff games. I did all my series predictions on 2 of my podcasts. I did it on Monday's podcast, and I did it on last night's all-exclusive NHL Stanley Cup playoff predictions. First game on tonight, you have the Wild and the Jets, 7 o'clock on CNBC. I'm going to pick all the games towards Maddie's picks, just for fun. I took the Jets in 6 in this series. Connor Hellebuck making his Stanley Cup playoff debut. This feels like a game that I think is going to go to overtime. I won't be shocked if the Jets struggle a little bit out the gate and the Wild get out to a fast start. I won't be surprised if the Wild actually steal this game, but I'm going to take the Jets at home. Let's say the Jets take it in overtime on a goal by Patrick Laine, as Patrick Laine makes his Stanley Cup playoffs debut. You have the Flyers and the Penguins at 7 o'clock on NBCSN. As the Penguins begin their quest to three-peat, Philadelphia is back in the postseason for the 3rd time in 5 years. I think the Penguins win Game 1 thanks to a strong performance by Murray in net. And I don't think the Philly goaltending and defense will hold up against a really good Pittsburgh offense, just for this game at least. So I'm going to say 4-2 Pens there. Kings Golden Knights. This is the Golden Knights' home playoff debut. I picked the Kings to win this series, and I think they'll win Game 1 on the road. And I think the Kings get off to a fast start, and the Golden Knights will hang around, but they won't pull through with the win. So give me the Kings to spoil the Golden Knights' home playoff debut, get the road victory. And I took the Kings in 6 in that series as well. So that's that. My 7th mock draft, a lot of it is the same. Some of them are different in terms of the picks. Number 1, Cleveland Browns, Sam Darnold, quarterback, USC. Although they did trade for Tyrod Taylor, he's not the long-term answer for a team that needs a long-term possible franchise quarterback for the future. Darnold could be that due to his leadership, good throwing arm, clutch play, as he's shown at the collegiate level, and his athleticism. Number 2, New York Giants, Josh Allen, quarterback, Wyoming. Some mock drafts have Big Blue taking Saquon Barkley or Bradley Chubb here, but after the blockbuster Jets-Colts trade, something tells me that Dave Gettleman plans on taking Eli Manning's successor. With all the smoke Jim Mora is throwing at Josh Rosen, the Giants take Allen, who has the most upside among the quarterbacks due to his athleticism, arm strength, and size, and draws comparisons to Carson Wentz. 3, New York Jets from the Indianapolis Colts. Josh Allen, quarterback, UCLA. Rosen's stock is dropping due to his concussion issues and former coach Jim Mora throwing him under the bus. Rosen is perhaps the safest bet in this draft in terms of quarterbacks due to his accuracy and redefined throwing mechanics. 4, Cleveland Browns from Houston Texans. Saquon Barkley, running back, Penn State. The Browns did sign Carlos Hyde in free agency, but there's still talk of the Browns taking Barkley first and a quarterback 4th, although I highly doubt that. Barkley is the draft's best player, and he could do pretty much everything. 5, Denver Broncos. Baker Mayfield, quarterback, Oklahoma. Although they did sign Case Keenum, he's not the long-term answer at quarterback. The Broncos love Mayfield, and he has a ton of potential with his gunslinger mentality, although due to his height and off-court antics, is compared to Johnny Manziel. 6, Indianapolis Colts from the New York Jets. Bradley Chubb, defensive end, North Carolina State. This was a home run trade for the Colts, and it would be a grand slam if they land either Chubb or Barkley here. Chubb will be a great fit in the Colts' 4-3 defense as he's a third down back that will help them stop the likes of Deshaun Watson and Marcus Mariota within their division. 7, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Minkah Fitzpatrick, safety, Alabama. This would be a possible steal here for the Bucs, who have a bigger need for a pass rusher, so instead they take Fitzpatrick to bolster their secondary. Fitzpatrick's versatility makes him special, and he's perhaps the best defensive player in this draft. 8, Chicago Bears. Quentin Nelson, guard, Notre Dame. The Bears have a need at edge rusher, and with Chubb off the board, they address their need at left guard, and Nelson fits that bill. Nelson seems like a sure thing and worthy of a top 10 pick, and will help the Bears on the interior of the offensive line and will serve good for Mitch Trubisky. 9, San Francisco 49ers. Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker, Virginia Tech. The Niners signed Edmonds here to improve their linebacking corps. Edmond is 19 years old, and his athleticism would give the Niners' young defense a different look to go with Reuben Foster. 10, Oakland Raiders. Denzel Ward, cornerback, Ohio State. Ward dropping this far would be a steal for the silver and black. Ward isn't the biggest cornerback in the draft, but he can cover skills that are hard to come by in this league. Number 11, Miami Dolphins. Roquan Smith, linebacker, Georgia. Smith brings speed and athleticism, and that would be much needed for this Dolphins defense that needs some youth. This is a possible steal here. 12, Buffalo Bills from Cincinnati Bengals. Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle, Notre Dame. After the trading of Cody Glenn, the Bills have a need on the offensive line. McGlinchey isn't that strong, but he's athletic and brings stability. 13, Washington Redskins. Derwin James, strong safety, Florida State. Perhaps the best defensive playmaker in the draft, James is the new NFL prototype as a safety capable of producing against the run or in both man and zone coverage. Florida State also used him as a pure edge rusher where he regularly pressured the quarterback. 14, Green Bay Packers. Harold Landry, linebacker, Boston College. With Ward off the board, the Packers go with Landry here to improve their pass rush. Landry did not have a great season at BC last year, but he should still be a solid pro. 15, Arizona Cardinals. Lamar Jackson, quarterback, Louisville. The Cards are another trade-up candidate, but here I have them selecting Jackson, who is a good decision-maker and passer. The Cards know that Mike Glennon and Sam Bradford are not long-term answers, and Jackson would in theory be a redshirt situation, and the long-term foundation of Jackson and David Johnson is tough to pass up on. 16. Baltimore Ravens. Calvin Ridley, wide receiver, Alabama. The Ravens have lacked a big threat receiver for years now, and they get one here with Ridley, although they did sign John Brown and Michael Crabtree in free agency. Ridley brings a downfield speedy option on the outside that would bring a different look to the Ravens offense. 17. Los Angeles Chargers. Deron Payne, defensive tackle, Alabama. The Chargers pose what is arguably the best edge rushing duo in the league with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. Adding someone like Payne would only make that defensive line better. 18. Seattle Seahawks. Isaiah Wynn, guard, Georgia. Wynn would bring a nice upgrade to his Seahawks offensive line to protect Russell Wilson and take pressure off the running game. Wynn can play tackle if needed, but will succeed as a guard instantly. He plays with outstanding leverage and has the athleticism to mirror pass rushers. 19. Dallas Cowboys. Maurice Hurst, defensive tackle, Michigan. Hurst has a heart condition at the combine, and that shouldn't drop him out of the first round. Hurst doesn't have the size that teams are generally looking for in an interior defensive lineman, but his quickness more than makes up for that deficiency and makes him, in particular, a great threat rushing the passer on third downs. 20. Detroit Lions. Vita Vea, defensive tackle, Washington. Vea, a massive presence in the middle of the defensive line, will go a long way towards fixing that deficiency, while also providing enough quickness to penetrate into the backfield on some third downs. He would be a great fit in Matt Patricia's defense. 21. Cincinnati Bengals from the Buffalo Bills. Leighton Vander Esch, linebacker, Boise State. Vander Esch is rising up many people's mock drafts of late. With Vontaze Burfict to start the season suspended and his future with the team up in the air, the Bengals take Vander Esch here to bolster their linebacking core. 22. Buffalo Bills from the Kansas City Chiefs. Mason Rudolph, quarterback, Oklahoma State. The Bills are a very strong candidate to trade up for a quarterback, but I don't do trades in my mock draft, so here I have them selecting Rudolph, who is an experienced pocket passer with a nice downfield touch. 23. New England Patriots from the Los Angeles Rams. Marcus Davenport, defensive end, UTSA. Davenport is a bit of a wild card since he's from a group of 5 school in UTEP. In UTSA. The Pats are a nice landing spot for Davenport as he gets to learn under Bill Belichick and that defensive staff and would provide much needed youth to the Pats' pass rush. 24. Carolina Panthers. Will Hernandez, guard, UTEP. No-brainer pick here as the Panthers find their replacement for Andrew Norwell. Hernandez is big and powerful and he provides mobility. 25. Tennessee Titans. Rashaan Evans, linebacker, Alabama. Evans brings an athletic presence who can fill multiple roles. He was more of an edge rusher, more of an edge defender early in his career, and he pressured the quarterback on 67 of his 284 career rushes. However, he has also showed well in more of a traditional role over the last 2 years. 26. Atlanta Falcons. Taven Bryan, defensive end, Florida. The Falcons don't have any major needs, but bolstering the defensive line could be necessary if the Dontari Poe leaves in free agency. Bryan has drawn comparisons to J.J. Watt and will bring depth to the Falcons' defensive line. 27. New Orleans Saints. Dallas Goedert, tight end, South Dakota State. Goedert's draft stock is trending up, although there are some concerns due to his injury. Goedert would be a nice weapon for Drew Brees. 28. Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Hughes, cornerback, UCF. Hughes is a player trending up in many people's mock boards, and people have them pegged in the top 15, but I don't see him being drafted that high. Hughes would fit nicely with Artie Burns in the Steelers' secondary. 29. Jacksonville Jaguars. Cortland Sutton, wide receiver, SMU. With the Jags losing Allen Robinson in free agency, they replace him with Sutton, who could be a steal. Sutton put together back-to-back seasons of 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, and he scored 32 times in all of his 3 seasons with the Mustangs. Minnesota Vikings. Billy Price, guard, Ohio State. Price would be a nice addition to a Vikings team that can use offensive line help to protect Kirk Cousins. Price would be a great target for them as a potential replacement for Joe Burger inside. Price would be one of the better starting centers in the league, so the Vikings have the option of sticking him at the pivot immediately and having Pat Elflein compete at a guard spot. 31, New England Patriots. Arden Key, defensive end linebacker, LSU. He is a prospect trending down on mock boards. The premier pass rusher dealt with injuries himself in 2017, but he's impressed against top SEC talent and should be a constant sack threat in the NFL if he can stay on the field. 32, Philadelphia Eagles. Connor Williams, offensive tackle, Texas. The Eagles don't really have any needs. Williams is one of the better offensive linemen in this draft, and the Eagles' offensive line is aging a little bit, so this would be a solid pick. NFL trade value rankings. Again, this is solely on trade value, not necessarily player rankings right now. This counts towards future projections, upside, age, and there's other factors into this as well. Number 100, Earl Thomas from the Seattle Seahawks. The Legion of Boom is aging as a whole. Thomas is one of the key cogs still left, and he should help the Seahawks for the next couple seasons as the Seahawks enter what, let's face it, is going to be a rebuild, although they won't admit it. 99, Rob Gronkowski, tight end, New England Patriots. Gronk is getting up there in age a little bit, and his injuries have been a concern. He's considered retirement in the past. I'm curious to see how long Gronk continues to play. There are trade rumors for Gronk, but they ended up dealing away Brandon Cooks. But Gronk is still an elite talent. He's a great tight end and has been one of Tom Brady's best weapons ever through these last couple years. 98, Kyle Rudolph, Minnesota Vikings, another tight end, one of the more underrated tight ends in the league. He helped the Vikings get to the NFC title game last year, although he wasn't relied on that much as other wideouts and running backs on his team, as he helped Case Keenum with his career year last year, and he'll be a nice weapon for Kirk Cousins next year. 97, another tight end, Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs. Kelce was a big part of what the Chiefs did offensively these last couple years and has emerged as one of Alex Smith's better targets, and he will help Patrick Mahomes, as Mahomes is going to be starting full-time. 96, A.J. Green, Cincinnati Bengals. Green has kind of turned into a bit of an underrated receiver. That's mainly because the Bengals haven't been a playoff team the last 2 years. He is the best offensive player on this team. He's been a big weapon for Andy Dalton these last 5-6 years, and he still has some good years left in him. 95, T.Y. Hilton, Indianapolis Colts. A bit generous for a guy that hasn't had elite quarterback play since Andrew Luck was healthy. Let's hope Andrew Luck comes back healthy and Hilton will be one of the game's best receivers, although he did have some moments the last couple years with the backup quarterbacks. I like T.Y. Hilton. I'm higher on him than most, and he's a pretty good receiver in this league. This is sad. 94, Ryan Shazier of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He'd be much higher on this list if he wasn't hurt. He won't be back next season, but the following season, 2019, I bet he's back and better than ever. I really like Shazier's game. He's still young. He was a big part of that Steelers defense. They sorely missed him after he got hurt last year. If he wasn't hurt, maybe they're in the Super Bowl. That's how highly I feel of Shazier, and he's so valuable to what the Steelers did defensively. 93, Casey Hayward of the Los Angeles Chargers. Hayward's one of the more underrated corners in the league. The Chargers secondary isn't great by any counts, but Hayward's one of their better corners, and I like Hayward's game. He'll help that secondary within the next couple years. 92, Zach Ertz, Philadelphia Eagles. It's funny to have a ton of tight ends going really early on this list. I like Ertz. He's a big weapon for Carson Wentz, and he certainly helped Nick Foles, too, when Foles filled in for Wentz. Ertz is one of the more underrated tight ends in this league, and he'll be really good for the years to come and probably emerge as the league's best tight end as Rob Gronkowski ages. And it certainly helps Ertz that Carson Wentz and Nick Foles are throwing to him. 91, Drew Brees. A bit generous for an aging quarterback, but this is his ranking. He's still really good. He hasn't shown age, and he helped the Saints make the playoffs last year for the first time in a while, and I expect the Saints to be good again this year, especially if Breeze continues to play at a high level and has talent surrounded with him. 90, Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, don't forget he's no longer a Washington Redskin. He's now a Minnesota Viking. Cousins, I think, will be getting more attention now that he's on a team with a great roster compared to Washington. Minnesota is a much more superior roster than Washington. Minnesota has some underrated weapons. I mentioned Rudolph before. I'll get to another wideout on their team in a little bit. But I like Cousins. Mike Zimmer's an excellent coach, and I think Cousins will have his best season this coming year with the Vikings. 89, Blake Bortles, Jacksonville Jaguars. This is banking on him improving pretty much. I think he's shown signs of improving last year. But let's hope that last year wasn't a bit of an aberration for him, as he was terrible 2 years ago. And I like that he led the Jags to the AFC title game, and he deserves credit for that. And like I said, 89 is a bit of a generous ranking for a guy that's perceived as a bust by most parts. But if he has a good year this year, then maybe he deserves a spot on the trade value rankings. And plus, he's still pretty young. 88, Phillip Rivers of the Los Angeles Chargers. Rivers is aging, but his weapons around him are still really good. The Chargers are a good team. They just missed the playoffs last year. I should say barely missed it, but I still think Rivers is really good and should be good for a couple more years. 87, a bit of a generous ranking here, but Andy Dalton. Dalton, I don't think is as bad as the media makes him out to be. I think there's a chance the Bengals have a bounce-back season this year with a good trade acquisition of Cody Glenn to improve the offensive line. And Dalton led the Bengals to the playoffs the first couple seasons of his career. He just faltered in big spots. But he's solid. He has a lot of talent around him. If he gets good protection, that's when he succeeds. And that's the case for most quarterbacks, but somebody like Dalton, that is absolutely the case. Number 86, Malik Jackson of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jackson was a big part of what the Jags did defensively and has a couple good years left in him after he left the Broncos for Jacksonville. I like Jackson's game, and he's a very underrated player in my opinion. Number 85, Darius Slay, Detroit Lions. He's the best defensive back on the Lions easily. I like Slay. I think he's underrated. He's done well against some of the better receivers in the league, especially the ones in his own division. He'll be a nice fit with Matt Patricia and that defense. 84, A.J. Boy of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Boy's another underrated defensive player on that defense. I think he has a lot of upside. He has room to grow, and he is a big part of what they did as well. A bit of a low ranking, but like I said, age matters in this. Number 83 is Tom Brady. Age is the sole reason why he's this low. If this was a current player rankings, he'd be certainly in the top 5. But this is trade value, and he's old, and he's still an elite quarterback, don't get me wrong, but age is the sole reason why he's this low. I think he only has, at max, 3 years left of good football. And that's sad saying that, because Brady, I think, is going to go down as the greatest quarterback of all time. 82, Ben Roethlisberger of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I said, with Brady and Rivers, age matters in this, and Roethlisberger, I feel, will play still at a high level as long as he still has his great weapons around him in Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Roethlisberger's mobile, and he's still really good. He can have the occasional stinker, but I'm a big Roethlisberger fan, and he'll help lead the Steelers for a few more seasons. 81, Matthew Stafford, Detroit Lions. A bit high for Stafford, although he is overpaid a little bit, and He's helped the Lions have success over the last couple years, and he should still be playing at a high level within the next couple years. Number 80, Brandon Brooks of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's one of the more underrated offensive linemen in the league. He made the Pro Bowl this past year. He certainly has done a great job protecting Carson Wentz and Nick Foles during the season. 79, Mitchell Schwartz, Kansas City Chiefs. Schwartz is underrated, and he'll help protect Patrick Mahomes, as he's done the same with Alex Smith when Smith was on the Chiefs. He's one of, as I mentioned, a very underrated lineman in this league. Number 78, Jarrell Casey of the Tennessee Titans. Casey is one of the more underrated defensive players in this league. He's one of the better pass rushers that nobody talks about, considering that he's on the Titans. I like Casey, and he has room to grow as a player. 77, Calais Campbell, Jacksonville Jaguars. Campbell was one of the better defensive players on the Jags this season, although the Jags had a ton of great defensive players, but Calais Campbell's impact on that defense cannot be mentioned enough. Campbell was just outstanding in that playoff run. They had a ton of big sacks for them, and there was a big free agent signing when they signed him last year. Number 76, David DeCastro, Pittsburgh Steelers. DeCastro is one of the more underrated offensive linemen in the league. He's helped protect Ben Roethlisberger as Roethlisberger enters the end of his prime of his career. And I really like DeCastro. He's, as I mentioned, done really well. 75, Anthony Barr, Minnesota Vikings. Barr's one of the more underrated defensive players on the Vikings roster, as the Vikings are loaded defensively. Barr's still pretty young, and I think he'll help that defense within the next couple years. 74, Chandler Jones, Arizona Cardinals. I think the Patriots regret trading Chandler Jones, as he's emerged as one of the better linebackers in this league. I think he's only going to get better. And I really like the Cardinals' new coaching staff, and I think Jones is going to be good within the next couple years on that D in Arizona. 73, Adam Thielen, Minnesota Vikings. Thielen had a breakout year last year. So many big plays for them, although it was Stephon Diggs that scored the game-winning touchdown to make the Vikings advance past the Saints. I like Thielen, and he'll be a big weapon for Kirk Cousins within the next couple years. 72, Matt Ryan, Atlanta Falcons. I think Ryan has a couple good years left in him. He has a good team around him with a lot of good weapons. He should be able to lead Atlanta to good things within the next few years as well. 71, a bit generous considering he had a poor rookie season. Mitch Trubisky of the Chicago Bears. I think Trubisky's next year's breakout quarterback. Like I said in the beginning of this segment, this is heavily based on future projections and age and upside. I think Trubisky has a lot of upside. The Bears improved their receiving core by signing Allen Robinson in free agency. Let's see if they do anything else in the draft. Maybe they draft an offensive lineman. They're going to get Trubisky help in the draft. As I mentioned, they got him help in free agency. I think the Bears are a sleeper team next year. They could be the Rams of next year. I don't think so, but it's a possibility that cannot be ruled out, and Trubisky's leap would be a big part of that. 70, Jameis Winston, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Winston didn't have a good year last year, but I still think he has a ton of upside and potential if he behaves. I like Winston. He has some good weapons around him in Mike Evans, and maybe they draft some people to upgrade their position core, and maybe they upgrade their offensive line in the draft as well. So I expect Winston to be better the next couple seasons. 69, Kareem Hunt, Kansas City Chiefs. Hunt bursted out to the scenes as a rookie and kind of tailed off later in the year, but I think Hunt's going to be one of the better running backs in the league for the next couple seasons. 68, another running back, Melvin Gordon of the Los Angeles Chargers. Gordon had a really good year last year. One of the big weapons for Phillip Rivers as Rivers enters the end of his prime of his career. And Gordon, to me, is one of the more underrated backs in the league. I think he can do it all. and he'll help the Chargers perhaps make the playoffs this season. 67, Travis Frederick, Dallas Cowboys. Frederick is one of the league's best centermen, as he's helped protect Tony Romo and then Dak Prescott these last couple years. I really like Frederick. He's still young, and he'll continue to help protect Dak Prescott and help Ezekiel Elliott get open lanes to run the football. 66, Telvin Smith of the Jacksonville Jaguars. A very underrated linebacker on their team. Doug Marrone's defense is just great. I really like Smith. He still has upside, still has room to grow as a player. He's going to be around for a long time. 65, Cameron Jordan, New Orleans Saints. Jordan is the Saints' best pass rusher, and he's been really underrated these last couple years, especially those years when the Saints were in a playoff team and their defense was not very good, because Jordan, before last year, was the only great defensive player they've had. And then their defense improved last year in the draft, and I think they have a chance to improve their defense more in this year's draft. I like Jordan. He has some good years left in him. 64, Cam Hayward, Pittsburgh Steelers. Hayward is a big part of the Steelers' defense. He's helped rush the opposing team's quarterback and gotten some big sacks for the Steelers these past couple years. He has a couple more good years left in him. 63, Fletcher Cox, Philadelphia Eagles. He's their best defensive player, their best pass rusher. He's the leader of that defense. I really like Cox. He has a Super Bowl ring now. He's going to still be good for the next couple years. 62, Melvin Ingram, Los Angeles Chargers. I really like Ingram. He's a really good player. He's getting up there in age a little bit. He's 28, but I still think he has some good years left, especially playing alongside Joey Bosa. Number 61, Bobby Wagner of the Seattle Seahawks. That Seahawks defense as a whole is aging, but Wagner is still there, and he's still one of the younger players on that defense. He'll still help them defensively, as I think there's a chance that he could very well be trade bait potentially as the Seahawks enter their rebuild. 60, Xavier Rhodes, Minnesota Vikings. Rhodes is one of the better corners in the league, as he's done great defending some of the better wide receivers in the league through the years. And he helped the Vikings get to the NFC Championship game last year. I still think he has some good years left. 59, Patrick Peterson, Arizona Cardinals. Peterson's great on special teams, and he's great in the defensive backfield as well. He's really good at defending other teams' wide receivers, and I still think he has some good years left in him. 58, DeMarcus Lawrence, Dallas Cowboys. I really like Lawrence. He's a really underrated player on a Cowboys defense that isn't really perceived well around the league. What I think makes Lawrence underrated pretty much, and I think Lawrence is going to be good the next couple years, and he's still pretty young too. 57, C.J. Mosley, Baltimore Ravens. Mosley's a really underrated player on a really solid Ravens defense. He'll be with the Ravens for years to come, as I believe he has room to grow as a player. 56, Joe Schobert, Cleveland Browns. Schobert is very underrated because the Browns are so bad, and they are actually acquiring talent as they did in free agency and trades, and they will in the draft. And I like Schobert, and he's a building block for them defensively. 55, Kawhi Alexander, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Alexander is perhaps the Buccaneers' best defensive back. He's really underrated. He's still young. He has room to grow as a player. He's a keeper for the Bucs long term. 54, Michael Thomas, New Orleans Saints. Thomas is a very underrated receiver. He was awesome last year for New Orleans, as he emerged as Drew Brees' number one target after they got rid of Brandon Cooks. I really like Thomas, and he'll help the Saints within the next couple years. 53, Devontae Adams, Green Bay Packers. Adams is tremendous. It certainly helps that Aaron Rodgers is throwing him the ball. He wasn't really that good without Rodgers last year, But with Rodgers, he's one of the better receivers in the league, and I think he has some good years left. 52, Jarvis Landry, Cleveland Browns. Miami traded Landry to the Browns as the Dolphins didn't want to pay him. I really like Landry, and he's going to be solid for the Browns. And whoever they draft, Landry's a nice starting piece for whoever that quarterback is in terms of weapons. 51, Andrew Luck, Indianapolis Colts. A bit of a generous ranking for a guy that's missed pretty much the last 2 seasons due to injury. I love Andrew Luck. I'm one of his biggest fans. I think he's special and he's healthy. And he would be much higher on this list if he were healthy. 50, Darrell Williams, Carolina Panthers. He's one of the more underrated offensive linemen in this league, as he's helped protect Cam Newton these last few years. I think Williams still has room to grow as a player and should help protect Cam Newton within the next couple years as well. 49, Larry Warford, New Orleans Saints. Warford has been a great offensive lineman on the Saints. He's helped protect Drew Brees these last few years, and he's been a big help on that offensive line, as Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram have been great in that running game. 48, Taylor Lewan, Tennessee Titans. Lewan is one of the more underrated offensive linemen in the league. He's still really young. He's helped protect Marcus Mariota and really helped Derrick Henry's emergence out. And I really like Lewan. I think he's headed for big things. And like I said, he's done great protecting Marcus Mariota. 47, Deion Jones, Atlanta Falcons. Jones is a really underrated player on that Falcons defense and was a big part of their Super Bowl run 2 years ago. I like Jones, and he's only going to get better as a player. 46, Marshawn Lattimore, New Orleans Saints. Lattimore, the Defensive Rookie of the Year, is already the best defensive back on the Saints. He's so good. He's going to be so good for years to come, and he's a keeper in New Orleans. 45, Derrick Henry, Tennessee Titans. Henry had his breakout in the playoffs last season, as he's going to be one of the better running backs in the league next year. I'm a big fan of Henry. He won the Heisman at Alabama, and he's been great in the NFL. He took some pressure off of Marcus Mariota. Good offensive line behind him, and I think Henry's only going to get better. 44, Tyreek Hill, Kansas City Chiefs. Hill's one of the more underrated receivers in the league. He's been hurt a little bit. He's a good special teams player. He's going to be a big weapon for Patrick Mahomes next year, as he was for Alex Smith these last couple years. 43, Kevin Byard, Tennessee Titans. Byard has emerged as the best defensive back on the Titans. I really like Byard's game, and he's has room to grow as a player. 42, Keanu Neal, Atlanta Falcons. Neal is super underrated. He's super young. He's only going to get better. He's going to be a top 5 safety in this league if he isn't already. 41, Landon Collins, New York Giants. What was lost in the Giants' disaster of a 3-13 season last year was the continuous great play of Landon Collins. I think Collins is the best safety in the league. He's going to be only getting better. He's easily the best defensive player, and he's going to be continuing to make Pro Bowls for the next couple years as the Giants are entering a rebuilding phase, and I think Collins is a keeper. 40, Tyron Smith, Dallas Cowboys. Smith's one of the best offensive linemen in the league. He's so good. He's done great protecting Dak Prescott, and then before that, Tony Romo, along with Frederick and Zach Martin. I'm going to talk about Martin in a little bit. He's helped create running lanes for Ezekiel Elliott. He's one of the better offensive linemen in the league, and Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett have done a great job building that offensive line at Dallas. And Smith's a big part of it. 39, Russell Wilson, Seattle Seahawks. Wilson's team is entering a rebuild, and that hurts Wilson a lot, I think, in terms of his career reputation a little bit. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1 Super Bowl. He's still one of the better quarterbacks in the league when he's healthy. He's great when he has protection. He's not great when he doesn't have protections, but that is for most quarterbacks in this league. Wilson doesn't really have great weapons, and he makes guys look good that really aren't good. I love Wilson, and he's still going to be one of the game's better quarterbacks in the next couple of years. 38, Keenan Allen, Los Angeles Chargers. Allen's one of the better wide receivers in this league. He missed 2016. He won the Comeback Player of the Year in 2017. He's a Pro Bowl wide receiver. He's fantastic and is Phillip Rivers' #1 target. 37, DeAndre Hopkins, Houston Texans. Hopkins is the #1 receiver on the Houston Texans. He's been great since he's pretty much been in the league. He's so underrated. He's been with so many bad quarterbacks through the years. And when Deshaun Watson's back and healthy, that's what would make Hopkins look even better. And like I said, he's still been really good with bad quarterback play through pretty much his entire career other than when Watson was healthy. And I expect Hopkins to be a monster this upcoming season. 36, Lane Johnson, Philadelphia Eagles. Johnson's one of the more underrated O-linemen in the league, as he's arguably the best offensive lineman on the Eagles. He's still pretty young. He's done a great job protecting Carson Wentz and Nick Foles the last couple years, and I think he's still going to be solid the next few years. 35, Brandon Sheriff, Washington Redskins. Sheriff is still really young. He's emerged as one of the better tackles in the league. He's helped protect Alex Smith. He's helped protect Kirk Cousins and will help protect Alex Smith as his career goes on. He's going to be a Pro Bowler for years to come. Number 34, David Bakhtiari from the Green Bay Packers. He's one of the more underrated offensive linemen in the league as he's helped protect Aaron Rodgers these last few years. The Packers' offensive line is perceived as a little bit of a weakling for them, but Bakhtiari is not a weakling because he's arguably the best offensive lineman on the Green Bay Packers, and he'll help protect Rodgers for years to come. 33, Christian McCaffrey of the Carolina Panthers. McCaffrey, I don't want to say was a disappointment really in his rookie season, but I'm going to talk about a guy a little bit on this segment of the podcast that makes McCaffrey look a little bit like a bust, but I like McCaffrey's room to grow as a player. I think he'll be a big weapon for Cam Newton the next couple years. The guy I'm talking about that made McCaffrey look like a little bit of a bust, Alvin Kamara of New Orleans Saints. Kamara's a do-it-all back. He catches balls out of the outfield from the backfield, and he's one of Drew Brees' more fun targets to watch. He can run the ball, and I mentioned he can catch the ball. He's so good. He's a fast runner and was an absolute steal at where the Saints took him. 31, Trey Turner, Carolina Panthers. Trey's one of the more underrated guards in the league, and he will help continue to protect Cam Newton for the next couple years, and he's still really young. 30, Andrew Norwell. He's the big free agent acquisition for the Jacksonville Jaguars as the Carolina Panthers let him go in free agency. Norwell is so good, and he'll help protect Blake Bortles and will take some pressure off of Leonard Fournette. 29, Zach Martin, Dallas Cowboys. Martin's arguably the best guard in the league. He's so good. He's still really young. He probably is the best offensive lineman on the Cowboys right now, and he'll be good for years to come as he continues to protect Dak Prescott. 28, Yannick Ngakoue, Jacksonville Jaguars. Ngakoue is so good on that defense, along with many other guys on that defense. Arguably their best defensive lineman. He was so good in their playoff run. He'll be good for years to come, and he's still pretty young, too. 27, Jadeveon Clowney, Houston Texans. A bit of a generous ranking for Clowney, but I think he still has room to grow as a player. He was outstanding last season. He made the Pro Bowl. He was an All-Pro. I love Clowney. He's only going to get better. And J.J. Watt's coming back for Houston this year, and that'll make Clowney even better. 26, Marcus Mariota, Tennessee Titans. Mariota's one of the better young quarterbacks in the league. He did struggle a little bit last year, but he's had some moments. I think this upcoming season is going to be his best year, as he has a new coach and a new offensive coordinator and another year of Derrick Henry, and maybe they improve the receiving corps at the draft. 25, Cam Newton, Carolina Panthers. I've always been a fan of Newton's from day one. He was the Rookie of the Year. He was an MVP. There's a lot of people out there saying that he hasn't really panned out and lived up to hype, but I don't buy that at all. He has a lot of talent around him, and he's actually carried some teams to the playoffs in years where the Panthers weren't expected to do much. Maybe McCaffrey emerges as the weapon that Cam really needs. They need a receiver. Maybe they'll draft one. He has a good offensive line, which makes Cam even more better in terms of his mobility. And as I mentioned, a big Newton fan. And I think the Panthers have better things coming for them in the future. 24, Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys. A bit of a generous ranking for a guy who was the best rookie quarterback 2 years ago, but fell off last year. The fall off was pretty much due to Ezekiel Elliott's suspension for the most part, and I think he'll be better in year 3. Maybe they'll improve their receiving corps in the draft. We'll see with Dez Bryant's future. Jason Witten's still around. Good offensive line. Elliott's back. And I think Prescott's in for a big year. 23, Luke Kuechly, Carolina Panthers. Kuechly's so good, so underrated. Best player on the Panthers defense by a mile. I think he's still awesome, and he's in for big things next year. 22, Von Miller, Denver Broncos. Miller's still around. He might be getting a little bit older, but he's still one of the better pass rushers in the league. He was a Super Bowl MVP. He's the leader of that Broncos defense. And I think he'll be really good next year. And he's still an awesome player. 21, Joey Bosa, Los Angeles Chargers. Bosa's so good. I think he's going to be a top 5 pass rusher in this league for years to come. He's going to be higher on this list next year. And I'm a big, big fan of Bosa. 20, J.J. Watt, Houston Texans. A bit of a generous ranking for a guy coming off an injury, but he's J.J. Watt. When he's healthy, he's arguably the best defensive player in the league. Houston missed him dearly, although they missed Deshaun Watson more when he got hurt. But Watts is still a big part of what they do defensively, and when he's off the field, the Texans are not the same team defensively. 19, Leonard Fournette, Jacksonville Jaguars. A bit of a generous ranking for a running back, but he's deserving of this ranking. He's really, really good as a rookie, and I think there's big things coming for him as he gets older. 18, Ezekiel Elliott, Dallas Cowboys. He missed some time last year due to that suspension, and the Cowboys clearly missed him. He's one of the best running backs in the league when he's healthy, and when he's healthy, the Cowboys are a good team in this league. 17, Khalil Mack, Oakland Raiders. The Raiders' defense isn't good, but Mack's great. Mack's capable of getting a lot of sacks. He's so good. And imagine if he has talent around him come next season. I think he's going to be a monster. 16, Jalen Ramsey, Jacksonville Jaguars. Ramsey was tremendous last year. He was great as a rookie 2 years ago. And he's going to be a stable keeper in that Jacksonville secondary for years to come. 15, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs. This is a very generous ranking for a guy that's only started one NFL game. I think his upside is tremendous. I think he's going to be one of next year's breakout quarterbacks for sure. And I think there's a chance the Chiefs get back into the postseason. And that all depends on how Mahomes does, in my opinion. And I think Mahomes is going to be great. 14, Julio Jones, Atlanta Falcons. Jones is so good. and he is still really good, and he's Matt Ryan's favorite target, and will continue to be Matt Ryan's favorite target for years to come. 13, Odell Beckham Jr., New York Giants. A bit of a generous ranking for a guy that missed almost all of last season. He's by far the most valuable offensive player in the league, arguably. And that probably showed last year as Eli Manning struggled mightily. It led to his benching last year. And Beckham's injury is the main reason why the Giants went 3-13 a year ago. If he was healthy, they probably are a better team. I'm not saying that they would have made the playoffs last year, but they are certainly not picking second in the draft if he's healthy last year. And he was sorely missed last year. And assuming he remains a Giant, he will be great in what will probably be his contract year. And I still think he's among the league's best players. 12, Antonio Brown, Pittsburgh Steelers. Brown is one of the better receivers in this league, arguably the best receiver in this league. If it wasn't for him and Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger would probably looked washed up, but no, they really helped extend Roethlisberger's prime. I love Brown. He deserves that money that he got, and I really think he's still going to be good in the next couple years. 11, Todd Gurley, Los Angeles Rams. Gurley was great his rookie year, bad his second year, and great again his third year. I think he's one of the better running backs in the league. His emergence last year, along with the breakout of Jared Goff, is the key reasons why the Rams broke out last year, and the Rams are among the favorites in the NFC going into next year. A lot of it because of Gurley and Goff, and Gurley's so good, and he'll continue to be good for a long time. 10, Le'Veon Bell, Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, Bell is higher than Brown on these rankings, and that's because I think he has more value than Brown due to the fact that he can run the ball and catch the ball out of the backfield. Yes, he might have another holdout, but he deserves his money, Bell, and I think he's still going to be good for years to come despite his off-court antics. 9, Carson Wentz, Philadelphia Eagles. Wentz would be much higher on this list if he didn't tear his ACL at the end of last year, but he did. And I like Wentz, and he's going to come back better than ever. He'll lead the Eagles for years to come. 8, Jared Goff, Los Angeles Rams. I mentioned Gurley, but Goff's breakout last year was tremendous. Helped the Rams emerge as one of the contenders in the NFC. I think Goff's going to be great for years to come, and that makes the Rams moving up to number 1 2 years ago look a little bit smarter. 7, Derek Carr, Oakland Raiders. Carr's tremendous when he's healthy, and when he's not healthy, the Raiders are a bad team, and I really, really, really like Carr. He was a steal at where the Raiders took him in the 2014 draft, and I think he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league for the next couple years. 6, Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers. Rodgers would be much higher on this list, probably number 1, maybe even number 2 or number 3. Actually, no, probably number 2 or 3 if he wasn't hurt a lot, but he's been hurt a lot these past couple years. I believe 3 big injuries over the last 6 years for him, and that's why he's only at 6. And I love Rodgers. He's still going to be great when he's healthy, and he makes his teammates better, and I think he's in for a monster season next year, assuming he's healthy. I actually screwed this up. I'm just realizing this now. Aaron Rodgers is 4. I had all these in order, but I had one number ahead. And, number 100 on this list is actually Everson Griffin of the Minnesota Vikings, who is an underrated part of what they do defensively, and I think is headed helping the Vikings to big things in the future as Harrison Smith, but he was really 99 on the list. Number 3, Aaron Donald of the Los Angeles Rams. Donald is arguably the best defensive player in the league. He's so dominant. He's the leader of that Rams defense. He deserves to be paid. He's going to get paid by the Rams eventually. Number 2, Deshaun Watson, Houston Texans. This is a very generous ranking for a guy that was a rookie and blew out his ACL. He was special when he was healthy, and was leading the Texans to big things. I think he'll come back and be better than ever. He was a big game player at Clemson. He will be a big game quarterback for the Texans for years to come. He'll help all the big name offensive weapons on that team, most notably DeAndre Hopkins. Number 1, this is very generous considering that he was the best quarterback in the league the last month of the season, Jimmy Garoppolo of the San Francisco 49ers. I love Garoppolo. He's a star, and he's going to be a star for years to come. The Patriots are going to regret this for a long, long time, as he could have been the replacement long-term for Tom Brady. But the Patriots are going to say that we didn't want to pay him a big number for a franchise tag. Instead, they lowballed. They took a lowball offer for Garoppolo, and they end up with a second-round pick. And let's face it, he's worth a first-round pick. And that's it for the NFL trade value player rankings, and that's it for today's podcast. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.